Hey friends, I guess for those of you south of the border, July 4th, Independence Day down there in the States, obviously a grand old time. I know I was talking with some friends down in America yesterday about how already the celebrations were starting. So on this July 4th, the Oilers, well, they've got a lot to celebrate as well following what was a successful Canada Day just a few days ago. It seems crazy to me, been back at work for a few days, kind of been going through the motions again of daily life. And just a few weeks ago, here we were, or for a few days ago, here we were in Cold Lake celebrating Canada Day. Sorry, scrambled up here this evening. Everybody trying to get a hold of me to do multiple different things, but we'll sit down. We'll take the time right now and get this Edmonton Oilers update up for you. As really, it's Bob Stauffer, who's the news maker for the Oilers media sphere today. And if you are new to the channel, I will tell you right now, here's a good opportunity to hit that subscribe button and stick around for what is going to be a big summer of news as we build towards another cup or bust season with this Edmonton Oilers squad in 2024-2025. That said, Bob Stauffer, I'm promising you news with him today. This from Bob Stauffer on Bryn Griffith's show this afternoon prior to Oilers Now starting up on 6:30 CHED at 5 o'clock, the new time slot if you're unaware. That started back in September. Seems crazy that's just yesterday, but also 10 years ago. Bob Stauffer mentioned that Evander Kane may not elect surgery until the late summer. So for the Oilers, right, there's a lot going on. We're currently up over the cap. We talked about that yesterday. That was kind of the premise in which we talked about all the news from yesterday. And it kind of appears to us here in this one. Sorry, the mic's probably all kinds of weird and bad. My apologies. But it's kind of one of those things. We're up over the cap. We're going to have to get to being cap compliant somehow, some way. And what the Oilers may do in that scenario, which we talked about yesterday, was LTIRing Evander Kane. Now, when it comes to how this Oilers team constructs the roster going into the fall, right, if Evander Kane can hold off electing surgery until then, right, now you can punt that whole situation down the road until maybe sometime in the new year for Evander Kane's health status. You gain the cap space in the early part of the year to be able to do what you got to do. I don't know. I'm extrapolating here as best I can, but you get where we're going, right? So you look at this here saying Kane may not elect surgery until late summer, and you look at how that plays out, and you look at how, okay, that kind of sets up that LTIR scenario for the Oilers, but that asks the question about one Dylan Holloway and one Philip Broberg, who are both key pieces of this Oilers team going into next year. Both players kind of know what their role is on the team, also know where their game is at currently, and know what they have to do to succeed even more in 2024-2025, but they don't have contracts. That's the thing. We're going to talk for probably the next 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it takes to get into about that time Evan Bouchard signed, right? Somewhere between, right? The reported contract was out early August. The contract was signed late August. So sometime between July 20th, 25th to about August 28th is where you expect to see maybe those guys signed, unless the Oilers find an offer they really like on Cody Ceci or Ryan McLeod, other guys we've talked about for clearing up cap space immediately. But you're talking Holloway and Broberg, guys that are going to come in under $1.5 million. That was reported on Oilers Now yesterday as well. So there's a whole bunch of things here that just kind of work together, but when you have to clear cap space, obviously Evander Kane going on LTIR would be a huge asset to that situation to allow the Oilers to cut some bodies right before the LTIR is enacted, then maximize cap, then bring everybody up as according as you need to. So that's the way it could play out. And like I said, right, I think if you understood from Bob Stauffer, may not. It's not that he will, it's just he may not. And that kind of sets up a couple of different scenarios for the Edmonton Oilers. Obviously, if he doesn't elect surgery, that may also kind of complicate or ease trade matters. That's the other side. If a team's looking for some LTIR, or if a team's kind of, okay, we could set something up here for the cheap, right? I think that is how you could definitely look at that as well. That said, we go into what you're really here for today, I would assume, the Stauffer's lines that he put out and was, retweeted by the Edmonton Oilers today. So this is big time, right? This is the Oilers, they approved of these lines. At least the Oilers social media person did. As Bob Stauffer's projected lines for the Edmonton Oilers: Skinner, McDavid, Hyman, RNH, Drysdale, Arvidsson, Janmark, Henrik, Brown, Holloway, McLeod, Perry, Ryan. So you're talking about a core of 13 forwards there that give you quite an interesting conundrum in terms of, like we were talking yesterday with McLeod, ice time, right? You look at these lines. Let me show that to you again. Holloway on the fourth line, really? McLeod on the fourth line, really? You signed Corey Perry to a 1.15 deal with $250K of signing bonuses, and you're going to use him on the fourth line as well? What? Okay, sure. That said, though, you look at Connor Brown. He stepped up in the playoffs. If he is the player he was in the playoffs, he is a player you need on your third line. Adam Henrique, I think in terms of what he brings alongside Janmark and Brown, is much more suited to be on the Oilers' third line than Ryan McLeod, at least long-term this season. And as well, you look at the construction there. I've seen some other theories floated out there with RNH being at third line center, Henrique at the fourth, and Holloway up and kind of retooling the entire lineup outside of the top line. So it kind of comes down to how you look at this as an Oilers fan. I think just looking at it, Ryan McLeod's the odd man out. I know if Evander Kane's on the LTIR, well, maybe you keep him because A, you can due to cap space, and B, with that in tow, you can also kind of ship him out at a later date when you have somebody either pushing up from the minors or else somebody just kind of goes down with injury and you've got a fail safe in terms of a guy that is a third line center on most teams in the NHL during the regular season. So that's the nice part about this lineup, is I don't think there's one proper way to construct it, and that's the beautiful part about how Bob wrote the tweet today, saying thoughts at the very end with the question mark, because quite honestly, right, it is. It's going to be a long summer of trying to figure this out, and I think if I'm Connor McDavid, I think I'm going to figure it out before Chris Knobloch. I honestly, right, if you're Connor McDavid, you just got off the ice in Game 7, lost the Stanley Cup Final, and now all of a sudden you have a new guy and Jeff Skinner to add up. I think you're probably, if you're Connor McDavid, yeah, you're taking your time off. You're going out for a couple of outings with Leon and friends, and you're doing your stuff, and then you're getting right back on the ice. You're getting right there in the gym, and you're talking with Jeff Skinner, and you're starting to pitch the puck back and forth with him a little bit and try and figure out, is this the guy I want on my wing, or do we keep RNH, McDavid, Hyman together and go from there? Because I think if Skinner, McDavid, Hyman play together on the top line, that kind of doesn't bode so well for Jeff Skinner being on the power play. But if RNH remains on the top line, I could definitely see them more so making Ryan Nugent-Hopkins a full-time penalty killer, part-time power play player, and then kind of also a top-line player in that situation. So, yeah, we'll see what ends up happening here for the Oilers, friends. But it's another day where it's going to be a lot of following the fine details, everything everyone's saying along the way, because it's going to be a fun summer. It's going to be quiet at times, but if you think it's quiet, you might need to look just a little harder, because there's going to be lots of little nuggets along the way that are going to tell us how good this Edmonton Oilers team is going to be. We could also talk about Marty Biron's TSN segment there, talking about the Oilers being the best Canadian team on paper. Well, we'll figure out if we can find that sometime on the week here on the channel. But thanks for being aboard. Like I said, I'm struggling here, phone's dinging off, and I'm trying to stay focused, and guy, quite honestly, just needs some time to wind down. It's been a long week back at work just because I've had to work after a full week off. So thanks for being aboard. We'll catch you tomorrow, and we'll talk about the Oilers then.